It's time for your NFL Week 7 over-under picks on the Bottom Line View. What's going on, BLV and NFL gamblers? It's Mitch back here with another week of NFL over-under picks where I pick every game over or under every week on the BLV. Last week, we had a pretty good week. We went 9, 5, and 1 in all of our total selections. It was actually a crazy week for unders last week. I wish I would have known that. But most of our best bets were on the unders. So checking in on our record for 2023, 51, 40, and 2, 93 total games played this year, 51 wins on our over-under picks. So far, so good. First ever season doing this. Enjoying it. Very interesting stuff. It's a different way to look at every single matchup. And if you're wondering where I actually give you my favorite picks, my best bets for my over-unders, that's on Patreon. You can check that out. Link in the description. Only $3 a month for all of my bets, including my spread plays, which I've been very successful with this season, my total plays, and more. So check that out. Link in the description if you want to check out my bets that I'm placing with my real money, or just, hey, give me some support for the brand, the BLV. Gronk spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly picks across the NFL. Now, let's get started. Thursday night football. The Jacksonville Jags travel to the New Orleans Saints. I'm going with the under 40.5 here. This may or may not be a bet, but primetime unders are pretty consistent overall this season. And when you look at the matchup, both quarterbacks have been struggling. Trevor Lawrence, injury or no injury here, he's going to play. He is, I think, banged up enough to affect his full capacity. I don't think we're going to see a 100% Trevor Lawrence hitting on all cylinders in this game. I also believe that Trevor Lawrence has not been playing that well. This offense has not been playing as well as people think. And you look at a Saints defense at home with their crowd in a primetime setting, pretty much all their pieces intact. I think they'll be able to slow down the running game of Jacksonville. Marshawn Lattimore taking away Calvin Ridley. They've got a very good secondary. This is just a very good defense that is really good against the pass, likes to play aggressive, and they know they have to win this game defensively. So I like the Saints to keep Jacksonville in a low-scoring type of game. And then when you look at Derek Carr and the Saints, they're missing both of their tackles on offense. That's certainly going to hurt when you're playing Josh Allen and company up front. I know that Tyson Campbell is missing for the Jacksonville secondary, but Derek Carr in the red zone is just a travesty. He is horrible. So I do think that the Saints will move the ball, but I don't think they'll cash in very often once they get in the red zone, keeping the score to an under. Moving to the Sunday picks, the first one we're going to roll with is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. I actually am going to go with the over 37. This is just a very low number. I don't really think there's going to be any crazy weather involved in this game, so for that matter, I'm going to go with an over. I do believe that at least one of these teams will get to the 20s. I do like both of these defenses, and I understand why the total is low, just not this low. I think Atlanta will be able to run the ball a little bit against Tampa Bay. I do think that will open some things up with Todd Bowles trying to pack the box and take away the run from Desmond Ridder to force him to pass. I do think that's going to open up some deep shots and some maybe inconsistency in the game from the passing game of Atlanta, where there's going to be lots of blitzes, but there's also going to be opportunities to make plays down the field. I do think Arthur Smith has overall had some decent games against Todd Bowles in the past, and I do think Baker Mayfield's going to connect on a couple more of those deep balls that he missed against the Detroit Lions. I don't think the Bucs offense was quite as bad as people think in that game. So I just think this is too low of a number overall. So I'm going to take the over in that game. Next up, we've got a total of 40, which has gone down a little bit. Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. This one's really tricky to me. I want to say the under. Just in a Patriots game, I just want to take the under. And I think I'm going to lock that in as my selection. Probably not going to bet this one because of Josh Allen and kind of like the wickedness he plays with. Sometimes he can be phenomenal to the point where you can't stop him and he's just lighting the scoreboard on fire. And the Bills could get to 40 by themselves in this game. I wouldn't be shocked. But at the same time, I could also see the Bills kind of getting in their own way and struggling a little bit and only scoring like 24-27. In which case, I don't expect New England to score more than 17 in any game. So I think that this is probably an under just because I think the Patriots will be very conservative on defense, allow Allen to move the ball between the 20s. But I do believe that the Bills will struggle a little bit at times in the red zone. And I don't see New England scoring very many points. The Bills have pretty much owned the Mac Jones Patriots offense. They have really not ran the ball well this year, which I think is what you need to do to kind of create some opportunities against the Bills. And I don't see these receivers really separating that well from the Bills secondary. So I think that this is going to be an under, but I wouldn't make this a bet. Next up, we've got a 43 in the Lions and the Ravens. And this is a tricky one because there's expected to be heavy winds in this game. And if that's the case, I would lean towards the under. Because I'm not certain about that, I would probably not bet it, but I lean towards the under. I could also see an over at the same time. If this was perfectly fine, if this game was played in Detroit, I may say the over. But because it's in Baltimore and because there could be some weather impacting this game, I'm going with the under. I do think that the Ravens will run the ball more in this matchup with Lamar Jackson specifically. And I do think that the Lions will struggle in this game offensively if the wind is impacting because Jared Goff, I don't really think is going to have a lot of success in that type of weather environment. On top of the fact that they're missing David Montgomery, their running backs are banged up, the Ravens are a good defense. So the lack of explosive plays with the wind is going to make this game go under. But if the weather, keep an eye on it. If it's not so windy or impacted by weather, I would lean towards the over. This is kind of like a game time decision, but picking the game on Thursday, I'm going to go with the under. Next up, we've got a total of 41 in the Browns and the Colts. This is without hesitation an under for me. It's the Cleveland Browns defense. They're playing at a historic level. They're playing a quarterback that turned the ball over 4 times last week in Gardner Minshew. And on the other side, I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to play, which means PJ Walker's in. I think the Browns run the ball a lot, keeps the score low. I think that the Browns and the Colts, even in a dome, go under 41. Next up, total of 37.5, Washington and the Giants. This one is tricky. Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Sam Howell, I think, is going to struggle against a good Giants defense. It's a very low number, but honestly, that half a point at 37 does kind of entice me to lean towards the under here because I could easily see a 20-17 or 17-14 game in favor of either of these teams, which is also making me believe that maybe I should be taking the points with the Giants, but I think this is an under. I really like how the Giants defense has been playing, and I really think that Washington is going to take a lot of sacks, a lot of negative plays. They haven't been running the ball well or really running the ball much at all. And then on the other side, if Tyrod Taylor's there with a bad offensive line, you can count on not a lot of points being scored. So I'm going to go with the under here. Next up, you've got 38 with the Raiders and the Bears. These are 2 backup quarterbacks, O'Connell and the young kid for the Bears who's escaping my mind at the moment, I don't even want to get it wrong. He's escaping my mind at the moment, undrafted kid. I think both of these guys will have good moments and bad moments, but I think it's going to go over. Just a hunch. Not a bet, just a hunch. Kind of feel like rookies lead to mistakes, which also lead to short fields, and I don't think this game's going to be impacted too much by the weather. I also feel like the Raiders defense has been good, but the Bears defense has not been very good. I think the Raiders offensively actually put this thing together, and I think the Bears score some points late, which pushes this over. So just a hunch, but I'm going to go something like 27-17, which pushes this game over. Next up, a total of 44 for the Steelers and the Rams. This is interesting, but I want to go with the under. Now, this is definitely dependent on what's going on with TJ Watt. Just heard that he has a heel injury. TJ Watt's not playing in this game. I'm going to go over. He's just that much of an impact to the spread and the total and how the Steelers play defense, especially without Cameron Hayward. But I'm going to go under just because I don't believe in the Steelers offense. And even with Deontay Johnson coming back, I don't believe in them. And then on the other side, the Steelers defense is good enough for me to, I think, hold this game under. You know, we've seen the Rams put up some nice statistics, but not all the time a lot of points. Okay, even last week, they were held to about 16 for a good portion of that game until they exploded late. So I feel like the Rams could score about 24, maybe even 21 in this game and probably win and maybe even cover. Steelers are not a team that scores a lot of points, so I'm leaning towards the under in this matchup. Next, we have a total of 44.5, Cardinals and the Seahawks. This game, it's tough because I feel like the Cardinals were a pretty heavy over team early on, but they've been an under team as of late, and I think I'm going to lean in towards the under here. The Seahawks have been a little inconsistent on offense and inconsistent in the red zone. At the same time, I think the Seahawks defense has been playing really good football. And that's what I'm kind of leaning into here, especially with Dobbs playing on the road in a hostile, loud environment. I don't think the Cardinals will really be able to run the ball against Seattle. So I don't see the Cardinals scoring a lot of points here. I think they'll score about 14-17. And then I think Seattle will score about 24-27. So it'll be in the range of this total, but I think it's going to slightly lean towards the under here. Next up, we've got a total of 45 between the Broncos and the Packers. My mind says under. Don't know why. Just feel like under. Jordan Love's been inconsistent. I could see the Packers be hitting some big plays, but I think they're going to heavily run the ball and lean into their running game. I also just don't have any faith in Russell Wilson and this current Broncos offense. Like, we saw them play last week, so I don't really know what to say. This does feel like a pretty high number for two struggling quarterbacks. So I'm going to go with an under here, but that's a tricky one. Next up, 48. I'm going to go over Chargers and Chiefs. I feel like both teams get to the 20s. I think one team gets to the higher 20s. One team gets to the mid 20s. It's probably going to be something like 28-24. So I'm going to go over in this matchup. I think the Chiefs will move the ball against a suspect Chargers secondary. And I think the Chargers will make plays with Justin Herbert. He does in these matchups. And Keenan Allen will make plays. I think Eckler actually has a good game here. So I'm going to go over 48. Sunday Night Football, 51.5. I heard this game could also have some weather, which would really suck because I'd really love to see a shootout, clear skies in this game. If there's weather impacting it, I'm going to lean towards the under. If it's completely clean and bright and great skies, I'm going to go over. So this is one of those that's a game time decision, but you have my picks here. Clear as day. Bad weather, going under. Good weather, going over. Just going to put that out there. So I'm not making an official selection, but this would be a fun over to pick on a primetime spot. If everything is good to go, I would pick the over. Monday Night Football, 44 is the total for the 49ers and the Vikings. I'm going to go over because it's in a dome, and even despite the Niners lacking some weapons, I feel like they're going to put up 30 in this game. I really feel good about that. I think Brock Purdy has a big bounce back game. No wind, no rain impacting him. I think the Niners with Ayuk, with Kittle, that's enough for me. I don't even need to know if Debo's playing, which I think he will. McCaffrey, I don't think will play, but I think the Niners will run the ball well enough. I think they'll play action the ball. I think they'll screen the ball. And I think that Purdy's going to be very efficient in this game against the blitz. And then on the other side, Cousins just tends to score points at home. I think they're going to score about 17-20, and the Niners will score about 30. So I think this will go over. This seems a little low for me. So I'm going to go over. That might actually end up being a bet. But overall, those are my selections for the over-unders for week 7. Let me know your picks in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be live for Thursday Night Football tonight between the Saints and the Jags. I have the under in that game. Thank you for watching. Gronk spike the like button. We'll see you in the next one. Peace and good luck this week on your bets.